Hi, kindergarten. This is Miss Bradburn with another story. This is called Elizabeti's Doll. And Elizabeti lives in a part of the world where she doesn't have a doll. And she wants to take care of a baby doll just like her mom takes care of her little brother. But she doesn't have a doll. So she has to use her imagination and use something else in place of the doll. Elizabeti's Doll by Stephanie Stuve Bodine and illustrated by Christy Hale. Elizabeti had a new baby brother named Obedi. Elizabeti watched Mama take care of him, and she wanted to care for her own baby. She didn't have a doll, so she went outside and picked up a stick. She tried to hug it, but it poked her, and she dropped it on the ground. Then Elizabeti picked up a rock. It was just the right size to hold, and it didn't poke Elizabeti when she hugged it. She kissed the rock and named it Eva. When baby Obini had a bath, he splashed, and Mama got wet. When Eva had a bath, she behaved very nicely and only splashed a little bit. Mama fed Obedi, and he gave a loud burp. Elizabeti fed Eva, but she was too polite to burp. Mama changed the cloth wrapped around Obedi's bottom, and it was very messy. Elizabeti was very relieved to find that Eva's bottom was still clean. When Mama did her chores, she tied Obedi on her back with a bright cloth called a kanga. When Elizabeti did her chores, she also tied Eva onto her back with a kanga. Mama had to help a little. You can learn a lot from watching other grown-ups and other kids. She wants to be just like her mom and taking care of her baby brother. Elizabeti went to visit her friend Rahali. Rahali laughed when she saw that Elizabeti had a rock for a doll. But Rahali didn't have a doll either. So when Elizabeti left, Rahili found her own rock and named it Malusi. When Elizabeti got home, it was time for her to get water from the village well. She took Eva out of the kanga and laid her on the ground near some other rocks so she wouldn't be lonely. Then Elizabeti wrapped the kanga into a small bundle, put it on top of her head, and placed the water jug on top of the kanga. This was how she always carried water and other heavy things. Elizabeti soon returned with the water and took it to her sister Pindo inside the cooking hut where all their family's meals were made. Then Elizabeti ran outside to get Eva, but Eva was gone. Elizabeti looked all around, but she couldn't find Eva. Where do you think Eva might be? I wonder what Elizabeti will do now. Mama found a new rock and gave it to Elizabeti. Elizabeti shook her head when she saw it. The rock was just a rock. Pindo also brought Elizabeti a rock, but it wasn't Eva either. Elizabeti was very sad and sat quietly until it was time to help Pendo in the cooking hut. The family had rice for dinner every night, and it was Elizabeti's job to put the pot of rice on the fire pit, which was made of 3 large stones. Elizabeti sadly filled the pot with water and set it on the stones to boil, but one of the stones wasn't a stone at all. It was Eva. Elizabeti called for Mamma, and together they moved the pot of water and rolled Eva away from the fire. Although Eva was a bit dirty, she hadn't been hurt. Pendo ran outside to get a new stone for the fire pit, which is just how poor Eva had become lost. Eva sat quietly while Elizabeti cleared her off and hugged her. At bedtime, Mamma sang a lullaby and rocked Obedi in her arms until he fell asleep. Elizabeti sang a lullaby too, but she fell asleep before Eva did. Mamma covered Elizabeti and Eva with a blanket. She smiled and thought that one day Elizabeti would make a fine mother. Eva thought so too. Thanks for reading with me. See you tomorrow.